Good morning and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. I can see that dawn is just breaking out there. It's a clear sky at this time, or at this point in time, and I believe it's going to be a very, very hot summer day here. Finishing up the coffee. Well, this is a brand, Beams 8-Star, that's been on the market 42 years. 1976, okay. It says Kentucky whiskey, a blend. It's 80 proof. They're both 80 proof, what I'm about to taste challenge. Kentucky Springs Distilling Company of Claremont and Frankfort, Kentucky, USA. You might say, never heard of Kentucky Springs Distilling. Yeah, you probably haven't, but I bet you've heard of Jim Beam Suntory. So you're not going to find this on their website. I don't know why they're ashamed of it. They try to hide from it. Now, but I can't say that they're ashamed of it. It's strange because you get things like the Sazerac brands, like Ancient Age Preferred. It's not listed on the Sazerac website, and I don't think they're ashamed of it. They just don't list everything they make. You get on Sazerac, hundreds of brands, besides all the other hundreds that they make that they don't bother listing. It's strange. Same thing Pabst does. Of course, the Pabst website this has been going on for months now. It's defunct. I mean, there's nothing there. The Pabst Blue Ribbon website started operating again, but there's no information on it and nothing about the beer. Some art promotions and some area where you can buy shirts and caps. So it's very strange. I don't know what's going on with Pabst. Anyway, back to this. You get on the Beam Suntory website, there's a whole lot of information about brands. They make, and they do talk about some of the blended whiskeys, like Kessler's, which I very much liked. And they talk about this brand of blended whiskey they sell in Spain. I can't remember. It's 3 initials. Might be somebody's name, but there's other blends they don't talk about, like Beams 8-Star. Been around 42 years. I think Sonny Cook they don't talk about, which I've never had. Some people said don't bother, it's not good. I don't know that. I wouldn't expect it to be too fabulous. So anyway, I've got about 20% of the bottle left, something like that. Enough for a good amount of taste challenges. I'm not going to go buy another bottle. It was $7.99. Okay. I ordered it through Matherns. They said we can get it, and so in like one day, no, it was 2 days it came in. Oh yeah, you can get the big handle jug for $16.99. You get a cheaper price, at Dorignacs, but I didn't want to get a big plastic bottle. Okay. And then we have Old Camp. This was $1.99, but it's only 100 milliliters, a little sample bottle. They have out by the checkout, at some of these stores. They were promoting it. So I can't remember what store, but I said, okay, I'll try it. I'd seen that Pecan Peach. That's the popular one, the Pecan Peach. I like the fact that it's glass. It's not plastic like most of your sample bottles. Good day, says Valentin George. Good day to you, Valentin. And even the Crown Royal small bottles, I think, are plastic, if you check those out. Funny, huh? Okay, so $7.99, and the Old Camp is $19.99 for the same size bottle. I don't think so. I don't think I'd want to pay that at Walmart. They have it there. Got my nose bothering me. I did put a lot of hot sauce on that little pizza I made, that little egg pizza. You know, it was on some multi-grain bread with some little salami slices and some red onions, this time red onions and the extra sharp cheddar. I baked it, get it good and hot, and then I toasted it a little too much, but I toasted it. Because last time I just toasted it and the egg didn't cook all the way. It was runny, like raw in parts. I said, oh, that's not good. So, but that was just a mistake in production. All right, back to this. This is made in Indiana. You got to go across the river into Indiana for this one. You say, where is that? In Lawrenceburg. You know where. Lawrenceburg, OC, Old Camp. You know what? The trademark for this was acquired in 2016. Only been on the market 2 short years. I guess I have enough for 2 more taste challenges, right? That looks, well, it's hard to tell when you're looking over the internet, but I think there's enough for 2 more. I thought I wouldn't get as many challenges. Some little surprise, pleasantly surprised. Now you might say, yeah, it's blended whiskey. There's no pleasant involved. Well, I wouldn't necessarily argue against that. They're not too great. They're what you want to call serviceable. How long is the Old Camp aged? I don't know. I need to go look at a bottle and see if they have an age statement. If there's no age statement, then it's 4 years minimum. What's the blend ratio? I didn't see that on the bottle either. I don't know if they're required to put that. I guess they're not, because I've seen other blended whiskeys where they don't put the ratio. Most do, just as a service to the consumer, but I guess it's not a rule. I didn't notice that it was a rule. Valentin says $7.99 for a big bottle is a good deal for that whiskey. It is a fair deal for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you would expect to pay for a Beam product, Jim Beam product, even though it's one of their hidden brands, one of the brands they'd rather you not. I mean, they want you to buy it. Obviously, it's produced, but maybe you're not going to see Mila Kunis on TV talking about, we had some Beams 8-star in ice. Like that. I saw that this morning when I woke up and turned on ESPN. And I've still got 14 games left to watch highlights for. I only had time to watch the Yankees and, I mean, the Red Sox get beat up by the Blue Jays, which I was a little surprised by. But she's saying, oh, look, and she's an immigrant, by the way, a legal immigrant. She actually came through the line, didn't try to jump the line. Now, they're saying, do you get intimidated looking at the shelf? You know, they're showing all these dozens and dozens of whiskey brands on the bar shelf. But then you can see Jim Beam over there. You reach for the old, it's something like along these lines. Reach for old reliable, you know, Jim Beam. And she says, I'll have a Jim Beam on ice. And then a guy that's with her says, me too. And then they're drinking it and talking about how great it is. You know, well, they're not drinking it. In America, you know, they can't show them drinking it. They'll do like that. And then later they're setting it down. It's so ridiculous. You know, it's like, you can't imply that the people drink the product. Right. We know that people aren't actually drinking it because they're buying it just to admire it, I guess, or some beer commercials too. You notice they'll never drink it, except there's a Dixie beer commercial in New Orleans that they didn't catch it. They're showing a lady drinking Dixie beer from an old Mardi Gras parade film. And I said, uh-oh. Good morning, Ron. Glad to see you, says Maxwell. Glad to see you. Well, glad to seeing you, but glad to hear from you. Let's see. The appearance is basically the same, but I noticed that the Old Camp is lighter. Yeah. That's the drink bell. Slightly lighter. All right. All right. Well, you know what? The Beams 8-star is aged only 2 years. Now, if you watch Jim Beam commercials, what do they always say? We age our bourbon 2 years longer than we're required to. That's right, because if it's a straight bourbon, if you want to certify your product as straight bourbon, it has to be aged a minimum of 2 years. But Jim Beam goes 4 long years, they say on the commercial. But the Beam's 8-star goes 2 years. They do the minimum 2 years. That's for, straight bourbon. But they say it on the bottle, straight bourbon. 20% straight whiskeys 2 years or more old. Well, you know, it's straight bourbon whiskey. Okay, so you know what they're doing. You can use your logic to figure that out. One is darker in color than the other. You're right. They're taking Jim Beam after, they're taking some Jim Beam after it's been in the barrel 2 years, and they're mixing it, blending it, blending it. And I don't know what kind of machine they use to blend it. I don't know how those operations work. When they take you on a distillery tour, they don't really show you that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to watch them make blended whiskey. You know, hey, why not? It's like Budweiser. They don't really show you how they mingle the barrels. Neither do they at Jack Daniels. You know, they show you the barrels, but they don't show you how they take the whiskey out of various barrels and they mingle them together based on taste to get that stereotypical Jack Daniels flavor. I would like to see those operations more, those internal operations more. All that old country heartwarming stuff I could live without, you know. And then Jack, he knew he had to help his people in town, and he started this distillery, folks, and all that heartwarming stuff. It's like, okay, all right. It's like I'm in a commercial, you know. I don't want to watch a commercial when I pay $17 for a tour. I'd rather see the operations of it, which they do show you some. Anyway, maybe I can arrange a special tour. Tell them I don't want the 2-hour tour. I want the 4-hour tour. You know what I mean? Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Okay, yes, they make a lot of bourbon there. Various age, different ages, different rye, mash bills, different mash bills. So they're taking whatever one, and they're blending it with whatever corn grain whiskey, you know, grain distillate, corn distillate, grain neutral spirit. Same thing. It's the same thing. They take corn, they distill it, they get nearly pure alcohol from it, pure alcohol. You can buy that at Walmart, Everclear. Everclear, it's 190 proof. Tells you don't drink it. You can also get diesel from Sazerac. They cut it with water, get it down to 80 proof. Then they blend it with straight whiskey. That's what it is. And some people say, yeah, it's vodka, it's vodka. Well, grain vodka is distilled from that, or I should say developed from that, but it's different because they do so much filtration, right? And then gin, they take the grain and make the gin, that same stuff, that corn whiskey, corn distillate, corn stuff, and they're using the botanicals, all the flavoring, what you want to call flavorings, botanicals, the spices, and making a gin, you know. So okay, in Scotland, it has to be aged a minimum of 3 years in wood barrels, and in Canada, 3 years. If you look at the United States, it says that grain neutral spirits has to be stored in wooden vessels, stored. Well, if you're storing it in a wooden container, right? Let's say you're storing it for a year and you're using it as you need it. Well, it's aging, ain't it? Isn't it aging? Not to say that it's going to develop any kind of color, really, because what? It's not a charred oak container. It's just a wooden oak container. And so you're not going to pick up a lot of color. And they're going to use it quickly in America for those purposes. 4-hour tour involves a lot of whiskey tasting. I don't know. I'm just really joking about that. They probably don't offer any such thing, but they might. Okay, let's go with the taste challenge because I want to catch the news in a little bit. Yeah, this smells like corn liquor. You know what I mean? I have some corn whiskey that I was drinking last night, and that's aged in oak and in cherry wood. So it's much redder looking. It's a lot different. I don't know how long it's aged. They don't claim it's straight corn whiskey, though. They just say it's corn whiskey. They don't say straight. Straight has to be a minimum of 2 years. But it seems unusually dark for being less than 2 years. And I know they don't have color added because in America, you must disclose if you add coloring. This one smells like grain whiskey also. Corn, you know, corn grits. I forgot to buy the grits. I was going to buy some grits. Oh, well. I drink enough grits. I don't have to eat them, right? But by golly, that's what it smells like. Distilled grits. I'm smoking some Willie. Uh-oh. Old smoky corn moonshine with juice. Okay, well. Is there any difference in aroma? Let's get down to brass tacks. Generally, they're very similar, but I think the one in my right hand could be to your left. Smells more like Jim Beam because it's got that sweetness and it has that smokiness that's coming from being in that charred oak barrel for 2 years, you see. So, yeah, it's got more of a bourbon aroma, and this one just has more of a corn whiskey aroma. Okay, so I think this is the Old Camp, and I think this is the Jim Beam. I'm sorry, the Beam. The Beam's 8-star. Let's go with the taste. How about that? It tastes like flowers. Like you say, you eat a lot of flowers? No, I don't. But you know what I mean? Like the nectar. And if you eat honeysuckle, you get the nectar out the flower. That's the flower, right? You get the juice, the nectar. So like, I think if I set this on the porch, all the honeybees and the carpenter bees, we got a problem with carpenter bees, they'd be trying to get in there, you know, and drink it. Old Smoke. Okay. So let's see this one here. Yeah, they sell a lot of Old Smoky around here. Not as much nectar. Maybe like wood, like just wood and grain alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Grain alcohol. I remember the Beam having more of that sweet nectar flavor. It was even stronger when I was trying the 75-25 blend. They dropped the ratio. It was 75% grain neutral, 25% straight whiskey. But in the last few years, they dropped it to only 20% straight bourbon. They cheapened it. You know what I mean? All right. So, and it's just like even some paperiness. It's just like alcohol, like grain alcohol. Wow. It's not a bad flavor per se. It's just a neutral flavor. Thank you. Grain neutral spirits, neutrality. This one. I mean, yeah, you have the grain neutral spirit. You have that grain alcohol, that straightforward, largely neutral flavor. But there's this accompanying charred wood and nectar. So this one might be a little better. Now, I'm not entirely confident in which is which, but I wouldn't even care if the Old Camp won the contest. You understand what I'm saying? If Old Camp, let's say the Old Camp is the one that's better. I'm still not paying $19.99 for it. Sorry. I'm not doing that. What is the oldest whiskey you have tasted so far? Was it great? It was great. And it was bottled. It was distilled in 1969 and aged for 8 years. 1969 and aged and bottled in 1977. And it was Old Crow. The old Crow. The old 86 proof. Aged for 8 years. They don't do that anymore. It's 80 proof now and aged only 3 years. So, oh, it was awesome. Thanks, Bob. Bob Futch gave that to me. He said, I'm never going to drink it. I said, well, don't throw it away. I'll buy it from you. Oh, no, you don't have to buy it. I'll just give it to you. He said it was just wasting, you know. Then he gave me, he said, I also found this Wild Turkey from 1983. I'll give that to you. And it was good, too. But unfortunately, the cork dry rotted and a lot of it broke off into the whiskey and I had to strain it. It still tasted okay, you know, but that Old Crow, boy, that was dynamite. All right, so here we go. I'm going to say this is the Beams because I got to watch the news. Oh my gosh. It's the Old Camp that had the richer flavor, the caramel, the nectar. And it's the Jim Beam, I'm sorry, the Beam's 8-star. That was more neutral. Well, guess what? I'm not buying either one because I don't like you. You know what I mean? I'm not paying $20 for that. Might pay $6. And I'm not paying $7.99 for the, I'm not paying $20 for this nice tasting Old Camp. And I'm not paying $7.99 for this rather nothing tasting Jim Beam. Doesn't taste bad. It just doesn't taste so great. It's just like what I expected. So I got it mixed up. So just goes to show you, you think you know, but you don't know. But one day you might know. All right, on with the news. And tomorrow, oh, I have another Old Camp taste challenge. I'm gonna have to think better next time. I appreciate you watching this video production.